I'm Greg Rohan. I'm the president of Heritage Auctions. And once every now and then, an important collection comes along that is incredibly meaningful to me as a numismatist and as a principal in this company. And I can say that being able to have the privilege of handling the Dr. and Mrs. Stephen Duckor collection absolutely ranks as one of the highlights of my numismatic career. I remember the first time I heard of Dr. Duckor. I had met David Hall when I was 15 years old, back in 1977. And in the late 1970s and very early 1980s, I would travel from my home in Seattle to Southern California to the coin shows and to do business. And David Hall was a very major dealer then. He put out a newsletter, The Inside View, which he interviewed me for when I was a teenager. And I remember always hearing about this client that David Hall had, this client, Dr. Duckor, who was putting together the finest collection of Saint-Gaudens $20 gold pieces. This man had a reputation 30 years before I ever met him. And his reputation was that when coins were laid out before him, and they were all the same date, and most people thought they were all the same quality, because this was before certified grading started. This was people looking at coins and saying, oh, that's BU, that's Choice BU, that's Gem BU. It was BU, Choice BU, Gem BU, that's it. And a BU coin was $1,000, and if somebody thought it was Choice, maybe it was $10.50, and if somebody thought it was a Gem, they might try to get $1,100. And at that time, if you had a coin that you wanted a $100 premium for because it was quote-unquote Gem, most people thought you were crazy, that you were a nut, that you were wasting that $100. You can fill the hole in your book for $1,000. Why pay $1,100? They look the same. The dates are the same. Dr. Duckor wasn't buying that. He was a Renaissance man. He was a guy who was truly ahead of his time. He had exquisite taste and the knowledge to be able to discern the difference in quality of coins before certified grading was ever dreamed of. And back then, Dr. Duckor would be able to look at a group of $20 gold pieces that were laid out before him from the most knowledgeable dealers in the world, and he'd be able to go and say, this one's the best, this one's the second best, this one's the third best, and so on. And, oh, you want a little premium for the best. Okay. And that was so unheard of. And he was so highly regarded by people who knew him because he was so far ahead of the curve. He was so far ahead of what was to become of coins when all the rest of us found out, wow, gems really are literally 1 in a million, and the ones that are just BU or Choice BU are really common. And so I had always heard about the legendary Dr. Duckor for literally 25 years before I finally met him. And I wondered who this mysterious guy who knew gem quality coins before almost anybody else did, who he could be and how he could have figured that out. And from spending time visiting with him over the last half dozen years as we've become better friends, I can now see he's truly a scholar and a connoisseur and a really forward-thinking person. And I'm so glad that I've had the opportunity to spend time with him, and now to be able to spend time with these incredible coins that I had only heard of when I was getting started in the coin business. And my hat is off to the Dr. and Mrs. Duckor for what they accomplished here and for their vision.